button here.
Can you guys hear me? I don't think anybody can hear me.
I can now.
Yes.
I'm not sure
Okay,
where.
we're live now, Amy, so
Okay.
we're ready to go.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Hi, everybody. Welcome. And the reason we are virtual tonight is because the admin building is under construction. So we will resume live next year. This is our last board meeting. Let's go ahead and start by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, for which it stands, one republic, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Trying to pull up our schedule here. Okay, I think we are starting with superintendent communications.
Yes, Chris, I didn't know, is Carter and Sophia, are they waiting for us?
Yeah, they're in the waiting room now. Would you like me to bring them in?
That would be great.
Okay.
And Amy,
So-
I didn't know if you wanted to start.
Do you want me to start?
Yeah, with,
Okay.
if you want to, yeah.
Okay. I think we're waiting. So hi Carter, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, thanks. Hi Sophia.
Hi.
Thanks for being here tonight. So I guess I'll start and by just introducing Carter and Sophia. Carter is going to be our new board rep next year. We are very, very excited to have him. And Sophia will be the alternate next year. And we are this summer going to be making some modifications to the program. So Sophia's role will be greatly expanded. I don't even know if we've had alternates in the past. So we are all very excited to have you both, and your applications were wonderful. You guys both nailed it in your interviews, and thank you for applying and your willingness to do this with us. So it's going to be a fun year. And if either one of you want to say anything, you are welcome.
Yeah, so I just sort of wanted to say hi to everyone. I'm really excited to work with you all this year. If you guys have any questions for me, like feel free to email me, text me, call me, whatever. I just want to say that I'm really excited to work with you all this year.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm like really glad and grateful that I got this position, and I can't wait to work with all of you to create change in the Clayton community.
Well, I'm so happy to hear that, and it's going to be a fun year. So welcome, and we will try and make it painless for you. So I will turn it over to Dr. Patel to do her superintendent communications.
Great, thank you, Amy. Chris, if you could pull up my update, that would be wonderful. So, usually I have like past few weeks and months, we haven't had quite as much of the COVID update, but I do want to go ahead and touch base on it. It is the end of the year. So when you look at our current data dashboard, when it comes to COVID, we are seeing just a small number of individuals who are getting more positive cases. So right now, if Chris, there you go. We have 5 positive staff members, none that are in quarantine. We do have 14 students who have reported testing positive, and 2 of them are in quarantine as well. So you notice that we are at 0.62% in terms of total active positive cases in our district. And if you remember, we have the 1.5% threshold, and we have had to go back to masking at a few of our schools. And right now we have Merrimack that's going to be mask required for the next day. And the Family Center has always been mask required because they haven't had the ability to get vaccinations. We are working, I believe Heather actually has a vaccination clinic for booster shots coming up in June. And I spoke to her today and she said we already have over 300 individuals signed up for the boosters. So we're going to continue this protocol all through summer school and all of our learning academies, summer institutes that we have. And then as we get closer to August, we're going to be revisiting all of this. And, you know, what is that, you know, the questions have popped up, like, what is it going to look like in August? And truthfully, at this point, there's nothing that we're going to commit to. We're going to continue just like we always have, monitoring everything we're doing. We feel like we're in a good place in terms of our masking thresholds. That might be something we may increase as we get closer to August. We're just going to have to wait and see. You know, one thing we've learned is not to make a quick decision right away. But the good thing is we have actually gone, well, I don't know if I want to say that, but we have actually gone through every possible scenario that we probably could. So we have definitely things that we were ready for, but you never know. There might be another surprise waiting for us. So we'll navigate that as we come, and we'll communicate that out to the community as we get closer to August in terms of what we're going to be doing. Today is June 1st, so that marks the beginning and the start of Pride Month. So I want to make sure that we take time and be sure to recognize and celebrate all of our LGBTQ members of our community. We are a district where we say a place for everyone, and that does mean everyone. So I want to make sure that we acknowledge that for this month. Carter and Sophia, I'm not sure if you're still on here, but congratulations. We had several rounds of rigorous interviews, and you know, you guys had amazing things to say, and you could hear the passion in your voice of wanting to do this because it is for students and to amplify student voice. So we're very excited to have both of you on there. And on that same note, I do want to thank you, Aitana, for being our board rep for this year. I know that you worked with our district advisory council, and you got the middle school and the elementary school district advisory councils up and running. So really appreciate you doing that. And I know you're not going anywhere, so you'll be helping Carter and Sophia and everyone else. So thank you for that. It is the last week of school. So we've had lots of activities this week. We've had all these promotions, like 5th grade and 8th grade promotions happening. We've had, obviously, we had graduation last week. We're having field days at the different schools. Just like about 25 minutes ago, I had gone to the annual hyperbolic, some bowling activity that the district does. That's amazing, that actually one of the Clayton High School teachers spearheads. And it's an annual tradition, and they go to the bowling alleys, and we have staff from every building that get together and celebrate. So I thought it was great energy there, and I really appreciated all of them being there. And it was a wonderful time. And you could tell the staff and our teachers have worked really hard all year long. It was a good time for them to get together. So I want to thank everybody for all the energy they're putting into the activities. And just because it'll be the last day of school for our students, it doesn't mean that we're done. In the summer, it's all of our summer learning opportunities. So we have, you know, we're having our first annual Leadership Experience Institute for 2 days next week. Then we have our central office retreat the week after. And then we have summer institutes throughout the months of June and July. And last I checked, we have 67 sessions of professional learning occurring, and about 430 registrations, which is remarkable. So the learning continues in the summer as we get ready for August. So I just wanted to give that update to everybody. And now I'll hand it off to you, Aitana.
Thank you. So just as Dr. Patel said, I also wanted to start off by acknowledging that today is June 1st, which means it's the start of Pride Month. So I wanted to say Happy Pride Month. And then now I'm going to talk about some of the things that I've spent most of the year kind of covering, and then after that I'll talk about some of my goals for next year, just with like the district advisory council and everything. So thinking back to the past year, I'd say one of the main topics that I really tried to explore is students' thoughts on the grading system, or the new grading system, I should say. And I would say from what I heard, we had a district advisory council meeting this morning, and it seems that a lot of students are still kind of on the fence about the system. They're just a little frustrated that the hard work that they're maybe putting into like homework or projects isn't as, you know, awarded as like tests, which is just especially frustrating for people that feel like they might not be as strong of test takers as other students. And they also think that retakes are less efficient than they should be, at least this year. It seems like every teacher has kind of a different strategy for handling retakes. And while some teachers are kind of doing like you have to turn in all your homework if you want to do a retake, there's some classes where that isn't happening. So there's students who are just going into the test or their first test as a kind of practice, and then maybe their second test after knowing exactly what they need to focus on. But then a lot of them did say that like test corrections were helpful because so they usually weren't receiving full credit for like multiple choice questions that they were correcting, but they were still gaining that understanding and they were still improving their grade. And then with like food and school lunches, this was mainly an issue that we talked about more with like Captain, as I've said before. But I would say that the main thing there is like with the whole chart law, like prepaid, or I guess students like where students don't need to pay for their lunches, they felt like the variety wasn't as big as it used to be. So I think that something a lot of people are looking forward to is that hopefully with this return to like paid lunches for most students, that there'd be an increased variety. So then the mental health resources, I'd say that this is kind of similar to what it was at the beginning of the year, where at least I've learned now that there are a lot more mental health resources than like the average Clayton student may know. It's just the visibility about them that's a little troublesome. So I think something we're going to focus on next year is really trying to up that visibility. We talked about maybe incorporating learning about these resources into maybe like middle school health classes or even the high school health classes. And then again, school spirit. I know I talked a lot about how like in sports there's been a lot of spirit this year. And overall I think it's like a really great step. I think it obviously hasn't really returned to what it was pre-COVID, but I definitely think that school spirit is something that we've seen kind of shine this year, especially at sporting events. And also we had Wellness Week this past week at the high school, and there were like games in the quad, there was spike ball, kickball, and then of course it was nice to see Duo Dogs again. I think a lot of students are appreciating that this partnership with Duo Dogs is like continuing, it wasn't just a one-time thing. So next, looking forward, obviously we've selected our new student rep and our alternate. I'm really excited about the two of them. I think they're going to work really well together, as well as with the rest of you. They're very bright, intelligent students, and I think they're going to do a great job. With the advisory council, we are looking to hopefully expand the group. We're not sure exactly how we're going to expand it yet. Just we want it to be a stronger foundation. Did you hear that? Sorry?
Can you, your microphone is making it sound a little muffled. Can you turn on your microphone a little bit, or is there a way to back up the microphone a little bit?
Yeah, is that better?
I think so. Go ahead and start talking. I'll just get it.
Oh, yeah, because I don't know. Okay. Yeah. So I know this year I kind of said a lot, like because of COVID, it's been kind of hard to, have a normal year. But I think for next year, like I really personally want to stop using that as an excuse with like district advisory council things. I think that we can have a kind of fresh start. Like it's going to be our 4th year with the student rep position, and I think we can really like get down to business. Get a lot of things going. And so in order to do that, I want to have obviously bigger social media presence and have more frequent meetings as well. Is my audio better now? Yeah. Okay. Lastly, I obviously wanted to say thank you. This has been a really great year, definitely very interesting. And I wanted to say a few specific things regarding my experience over the past year. I remember Adam Jaff, he told me, I guess it was the end of my sophomore year, that I should try to apply for this position. And I really thought that he was kind of crazy because I never thought that I had the kind of voice that could speak at a meeting like this or represent the student body. And while I'm still learning every day, I really want to just thank everyone who is here and who gave me this opportunity to come as far as I have. Even though I'm not going to be speaking in these board meetings anymore, I want to continue to work on some of the things I mentioned in August, such as focusing on mental health and truly making this a place for everyone. I think that I have unfinished business here, and I'm hoping to continue working in my last year in this Clayton School District. Now, while this year has been truly incredible, and I could talk about it for a very long time, I wouldn't really feel like a true student rep if I didn't say this. I think this is really no one's fault, and I think it stems purely from the lack of communication. Obviously, board policies can be a little bit confusing, which is why I'm glad we're going to be revisiting this soon. But I feel like me and the rest of the DAC leadership team have felt a little bit frustrated lately. We felt just personally that like our voice in the whole student rep process or the whole decision process was diminished as compared to the past years. I obviously wasn't involved in this decision last year or the ones before, but from what I've heard from past board reps, there was a lot more board input this year as compared to the voice of the students. We think that if this continues, it's going to turn a lot more into a board representative to the student body and not a student representative to the Board of Education. Again, I mean this with no disrespect at all, and instead with just a passion for the student voice. I know that technically the process that we followed this year aligned maybe more with the actual board policy, but we as students do not really feel that this current policy makes a true student representative. Once again, I also know that this will be talked about at the beginning of next year, so I'm not really going to go into more detail now. However, I'm happy to expand on this if anyone has any questions or comments, and I would also love to hear your opinions, because obviously I only have my side of the story. But I am confident that with the help of Carter and Sophia, a great solution will be found. I think this issue can be put to rest, and not necessarily that it's an issue. I'm kind of glad that it came up because it gave us the feel that we needed to really brighten up the policy and make it one that can be used for many years. So all that being said, I would like to once again thank not only everyone on the board, but everyone who's working behind the scenes all the time to make these meetings and just to make the school district function. I do look forward to seeing the amazing work you all do next year, and it's really been inspiring to be able to represent the students at a table with such distinguished and hardworking individuals. So yeah, thank you, everyone.
Thank you. And thank you for all your hard work this year. We appreciate it. Let's see here. Okay, so I think we need to move on to the adoption of the budget for 22-23. So
I move, oh, you want the motion?
Yeah.
I move that the Board of Education approve the 2022-2023 budget as presented.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Are there any comments or questions?
Yeah, real fast. I think I heard Atana ask a question. Did anyone have, Atana, was your question clear? I don't think I thought I heard a question.
Yeah, it was more of I guess an invitation for more opinions, because I do, obviously I'm very passionate about having a greater student voice. But, being a student, I might have more of a biased opinion. So I also want to hear, the perspectives of board members or maybe of the administration in this whole issue, because I do think, even though it'll be talked about more in the coming year, or I guess at the beginning of next year, I still want to hear about it, as soon as I can, just so I can hopefully, help Carter and Sophia handle the situation in the best way.
Okay, so I think we're in the middle of this particular motion though. So let's go ahead on and vote on that, and then we'll come back. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that was on the agenda tonight to discuss. So does anybody have any questions or comments on the budget for 22-2023 as presented?
Well, I'll ask, Mary Jo, just really quickly, are there any changes between drafts?
So yes, as I mentioned at the presentation, I had some additional information that I received during, between when I posted the draft and when I presented the draft. And so I made changes to 2021 and 2022 tax revenue and FIT taxes. And then I addressed analysis from current year to 22-23. So there's no changes to the 22-23 budget that I presented last week. Or was that last week? But there are changes to the current year budget, and those were also presented in a budget revision that's in the consent agenda.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, great. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Okay, so I'm sorry, Aitana, I'll jump back to you for a second. So we don't have on the agenda tonight to have the conversation around the student board rep. And so since that's not on the agenda, we're not able to publicly have that conversation because we haven't noticed up everybody and given them an opportunity to come and listen. However, I've already talked about this with Sandy, and I believe it is on the agenda for one of the very first meetings of next year for us to discuss it. And we also plan to work on some of the specifics of it this summer. Stacy and Jason Grow have graciously agreed to help iron out any kinks with the program, and in conjunction with Dr. Patel and myself. So there will be some changes next year. I can't tell you what they're going to be. The board rep is a student that is selected by the board. I don't know how it's happened in the past or for the past few years with COVID or what was told to you, but it is a representative that will be chosen by the board each year. And the reason we do it is so that we can hear student voices, and you know, so that's just a general overview of it. And there will be some you know, tweaks to the program. We've had it now three years, and we're going to evaluate how it's worked, what's gone well, what hasn't gone well, and we will certainly make some decisions and discuss it at, I think it's on the agenda for one of the first meetings of next year.
Yeah, thank you. We do like really appreciate that. We're gonna like revisit this. Yeah, I just wanted to like put that out there before my last, or I guess at my last meeting. I had one very specific question.
Sure.
Is a board member considered part of the administration?
No.
Okay,
Well,
thank you.
wait, I'm sorry, a student, do you mean a student, the student rep, or a board member?
No, like just like a normal board member.
Oh, no, no.
Okay, thank you.
So we are now on to, let's see, I'm sorry, guys. Okay, so we're on topic number 5, which is the resolution for gun safety. And this is something that's really important to the entire board. And some of you will remember that back in April of 2018, we had unanimously approved a resolution and regarding gun safety. And we given the recent events, we really, as a board, wanted to reaffirm that resolution and make a few edits and tweaks. And we did that. I'm trying to pull up the.
You want me to read the motion first and then you read it?
No, I'll go ahead and read the, I'll go ahead, Stacy, and read what we're resolving to do, and then we can talk about it, but I'll just go ahead and read first what we're resolving to do. And I typically don't like to read things from a piece of paper, but in this particular instance, I think it's important because I wanted people to be able to hear specifically the resolutions or how we're resolving to protect students and staff. So the first is, well, it's resolved that the Board of Education and the School District of Clayton support sensible gun safety legislation to protect students and staff, including implementing enhanced background checks for assault weapons, including raising the age to 21 to purchase assault weapons, strengthening universal background checks for the purchase of firearms, banning the purchase of semi-automatic rifles and of any accessories designed to increase a gun's rate of fire, banning gun sales to domestic violence offenders, preventing access to firearms for individuals who through mental health evaluation or diagnosis could be considered a danger to themselves or others, increasing funding for programs and school staffing that support student mental health and social emotional well-being and learning, and finally, providing funding for thorough gun violence research, including the collection of data necessary to track, monitor, understand, and prevent the extent of gun violence in America. So Stacy, go ahead and read the motion.
I move that the Board of Education approve the resolution in support for gun safety legislation.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any comments? Just making sure I'm not missing anybody. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Wonderful. Motion passes. And we will all be signing that later tonight. And with that, I think we are on to our second reading of policy JGGA. So Stacy, will you go ahead and read that motion?
Yeah. I move that the board approve policies JGGA, JGA, and JG with the proposed changes.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Questions or comments? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Motion passes. And the motion for policy EBBC, please.
I move that the Board of Education approve policy EBBC, lactation support as submitted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any comments? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Motion passes. And we're on the consent agenda now, so that's number 6.
I move that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda items for agenda items 6.02 through 6.20.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Motion passes. Great. Okay, I think we are on to sorry, guys, number 7, which is the public participation. Did I miss anything? No, we didn't. Okay, public participation.
Yes, we have 12 comments that were submitted to the board tonight. Most of them are reasonably brief, and all of them are related to the board's, the resolution that the board passed tonight regarding sensible gun legislation. I will read them now. Lynn Corder writes, I want to voice my support and appreciation for the board's commitment to advocacy for gun safety legislation. Thank you for prioritizing the safety of our students and staff. I urge you to continue to do all that you can to educate and about and advocate for gun sense in our community and our state. Allison Price writes, I want to voice my support and appreciation for the board's commitment to advocacy for gun safety legislation. Thank you for prioritizing the safety of our students and staff. I urge you to continue all that you can do to educate about and advocate for gun sense in our community and state. Laura Horwitz writes, thank you for your consistent efforts to keep our children safe in an atmosphere of pandemic, systemic racism, and gun violence. Please do all you can to be a haven for our children and continue to lead the way on affirming the importance of gun safety, responsibility, and limitations that protect lives. Marissa Gelfand writes, I want to voice my support and appreciation for the board's commitment to advocacy for gun safety legislation. Thank you for prioritizing the safety of our students and staff. I urge you to continue all that you can do to educate about and advocate for gun sense in our community and state. Katie Silversmith writes, thank you for your continued support and advocacy for common sense gun legislation. We appreciate all you are doing to keep our kids safe. Emily Mukherjee writes, please support and advocate for gun legislation that restricts access to guns. I am very frightened about the idea of school shootings, and it makes me scared for my children's safety. Ali Kachanik writes, as a mom of 3 children who are coming through the Clayton School District, I'm asking for your continued support of common sense gun regulations in the state of Missouri and advocating for common sense gun laws in our community. There's nothing more important than the safety of our children. Thank you for continuing to make it a priority. Susie Hindepur writes, I'm writing to ask you for your continued support in advocating for common sense gun legislation. As a mom of 2 elementary school kids, I don't want to have to worry for their safety and others at drop-off each day. As a provider in a neuro ICU of a St. Louis hospital, I can tell you firsthand what gun violence does to a child or young adult, and it's not something that any family should have to go through. I thank you for your ongoing support in keeping our kids safe. Dana Silverblatt writes, I'd like to thank the board for the resolution in support of gun safety legislation. I imagine, like many others in our community, country, and across the globe, I was utterly heartbroken to learn of the recent tragic and senseless events in Texas. I'm inspired by renewed efforts in support of sensible gun safety legislation that could address one aspect of this public health problem plaguing our country. I am proud that our school board has taken swift action to reaffirm its call for gun safety legislation and hope that there are enough other brave and sensible leaders to add their voices. Alex Silversmith writes, thank you for continuing to support and advocate for common sense gun legislation. We appreciate all the efforts you are taking to keep our kids safe at school. Neil Silverblatt wrote, we appreciate that the community continues to support smart legislation to combat gun violence in our country school. The only viable solution is to reduce the availability, circulation, and situational legal use of guns. Thank you. And finally, Stephanie Woolen writes, thank you for your continued support and advocacy for common sense gun legislation. Your hard work and dedication to our community does not go unnoticed. Thank you again for your efforts. And that is all of our comments for this evening.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you. We appreciate all the community support. So before we go on to board communications, I do want to acknowledge that it's our last meeting of the year and thank the board members for all of their commitment and hard work and dedication this year. I know that your job is not always fun, but it's important and it's appreciated, and I appreciate everybody's hard work, and I can't say enough, but thank you. And with that said, I will move on to the board calendar. Any updates? Okay, I will let you guys know that Dr. Patel and I have a meeting scheduled in the next few days with the developer of the Claris project. So we will get to learn more about that. And I will be able to report back to you guys what's going on with that at the next meeting. But if anybody wants to know how that meeting went, please feel free to reach out to myself or to Dr. Patel before then, and we will be happy to talk about it. Go ahead, Stacy.
I forgot I do have one.
Yeah.
This Saturday morning at University City High School is the St. Louis School Board's PLC that if interested in attending, the registration link now came from my email. Joe passed it on to me. So you may have seen an email from me about that. And just for Chris and Jason and anybody listening who's not aware, it's an opportunity to get together with school board members from across the region. It's now expanded to include beyond St. Louis County and City, but St. Charles County, Jefferson County, superintendents from all of those school districts as well. And we focus on different topics each time. We're happy to be back in person at U City High this Saturday morning. So if you're interested in attending and haven't registered yet, look for that email from me with the registration link.
Thank you, Stacy. Anyone else?
Yeah, I have one thing to say.
Go ahead.
I just want to make sure that while we're looking at Texas, Uvalde, and that those innocent kids that were, murdered down there, we also need to make sure that we jump on Buffalo as well. We acknowledge Buffalo as well. It was 10 people heinously murdered in Buffalo in the supermarket. And we are just now looking at this gun resolution. But it was 10 people murdered in that supermarket. So I just want to make sure we acknowledge that as well. That happened just 2 weeks prior to Uvalde. And they both are devastatingly horrible situations.
Yeah, I could not agree more with you, Jason. And I mean, it's insane, both events. And I appreciate you bringing that up. As we're even in this meeting, I just got a news alert that there was another, some other
Oklahoma.
shooting. Yeah, just as we're on this call, 9 people. So, I mean, I'm happy that we passed that resolution, but I also think it's important that us, beyond that, as just community members, we even go beyond that and advocate for legislation that's going to keep everybody safe. So we are in a dark place right now in our world, and I don't know what else to say, but I appreciate you bringing that up, Jason.
And I appreciate you, Amy. Thank you very much.
Anybody else?
Amy, I just want to say really quickly along the same lines, I just want to acknowledge very publicly and say that I appreciate Stacy Fiwak really bringing this up. I have to admit that after both of these, the Buffalo and the Texas things, I really have blocked a lot of this out and was kind of unable to process it, and was really kind of shut down. And I just appreciated that she encouraged all of us to think about this resolution again and reminded us about it. And I just want to acknowledge that I appreciate her making sure that we are thinking about it, because it's very difficult. I don't want to think about it, but that is not the right response. So yeah, thank you.
I agree, Stacy. So thank you. Anybody else?
I'll make a comment if that's okay.
Sure.
I just wanted to thank Stacy as well. That was so important for you to bring this, not just for the board to discuss, obviously for the community to see that the board really believes in doing everything we can in this area. And as the parents said, I just want to acknowledge them too. Thank you all for commenting. Your passion and dedication is mirrored in all of us. I want you to know that. And we are committed to continuing to listen to your voices and do what we can. I think, like Amy said, this is a community. It's beyond just schools. As Jason said, this is a community epidemic. And I'm very proud of our community in continuing to be proactive. And I just want to commit to being that as the years progress, that we won't forget, that we will continue to discuss it, and that it will be our priority as it should be.
Thank you, Chris. Anybody else?
I guess along those lines, thanks for the kind words, but it really was the board of a few years ago that got this started. I just want to thank really the whole board and Dr. Patel and the district also for committing to the physical upgrades to our buildings that will keep them more safe and secure, and thank the board for allocating the funds to do that. There's clearly a lot more that needs to be done as a society, but at least I feel good in our district that it was made a priority in our budget and in our work to get that done, and that we're completing the second phase this summer. So all of our buildings will have new secure entrances, and I'm grateful for that.
Me too. Okay, so we are going to reconvene for our board retreat. So I will, Stacy, can you read a motion to adjourn,
Yes.
please?
I move that the Board of Education adjourn the business meeting and move into a board retreat.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thanks everyone. Have a great summer.